Time to get serious right now. Beth Ann, let's bring in Andy Abrahams Wilson. The movie is Under Our Skin. This is about Lyme disease. I became aware of this. My friend Mark hit me to this movie and said, this is a guy you might be interested in having on the show. And I saw the trailer, and the trailer fascinated me. And then last night I had the pleasure of watching this documentary. And let's welcome Andy. He's the director, the photographer, the chief cook, and bottle washer for this film. I should mention this film is playing now through Monday at the Silver Docks Film Festival. That's in Silver Spring, Maryland, and you have a Saturday screening and a Monday screening as well. Andy, is that the way it works?
That's correct.
Very good. And it's Andy Abrahams Wilson.
Yes, that's right.
You put the S on the. We were having a huge debate about that here in the studio.
Almost came to blows.
We fight about everything. We really do.
No, we don't.
Because I have to tell you,
do.
They're always wrong. They really. And this is Argument Wednesday, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I just did it to give you trouble.
Oh, that's good. I will tell you, this is a very powerful film, and it's something that I never knew anything about. Our own Beth Ann McBride. Beth Ann, we need you in here for this, remember? She doesn't want to come in.
She got bitten?
She got bitten, said she had Lyme disease, but I had no idea that this entire Lyme disease issue was so divisive in the medical community and that so many people were getting so sick. And before we start our discussion on this, I do want to tell you, if you know anybody that has had Lyme disease or has been exposed to it or has had medical problems that they think might be Lyme disease, you want to listen to this right now, and we'll have you call in a little bit later on.
But, Mike, let me just jump in here. I think the problem is it's people who don't know they have Lyme disease that may have Lyme disease.
Because then it becomes late stage and they get very, very sick.
Right.
I've always heard the conventional wisdom was Lyme disease, you get bitten by a tick, you get a bullseye rash, you go to the doctor, it's treated, and bingo. Your film brings out all these cases of people that in many cases didn't have those classic symptoms early on. They get sick. They don't know what it is. They go to a million doctors. The doctors are telling them that there might be anything from MS to some sort of psychological issues that they have, and
chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, that's one
arthritis.
Of them. Right. It's amazing that lots of people are getting very, very sick, and in many cases dying around the country. And the doctors are having this big fight about it. Why is this particular disease so divisive in the medical community? What is the problem?
Well, it's a difficult subject. There's a lot to talk about, and
it's amazingly difficult because there are lots of different things you cover in this film.
Yeah, I think what I want to do first is really talk about what are the symptoms of Lyme disease?
Okay,
and how are people being treated? People are walking around with this disease and they don't know they have it. And I think that's the number one thing that we need to get across. They are not being diagnosed. Their doctors don't know what to look for. And they're being told that whatever their symptoms are, it's all in their head. They're being, as we said before, fibromyalgia is one, chronic fatigue syndrome. Young women often get an MS diagnosis. Older people, sometimes Parkinson's, sometimes Alzheimer's disease. The spirochete, it's a kind of bacteria that causes Lyme disease, is a cousin of syphilis. That's another thing that people don't know.
Wow.
And
we all have syphilis on the show, I should point that out.
But it's under control.
We're doing okay.
From listening to you,
now,
I'm sure
obviously,
that's the case.
Syphilis is an STD. Is Lyme disease passable from person to person?
Well, that's
another one of the questions they ask in the movie, because one of the prime subjects that Andy follows around in this film has a very severe case of Lyme disease, and she's got all sorts of neurological issues.
Right. At
the end of the film, when she's been on, I guess, a course of antibiotics that are turning the corner for her, she seems to be doing better. At that point, her husband is starting to become symptomatic, and a lot of these things. All right, let's. I want to keep this, Andy, for purposes of time as well as keeping this clear to our listening audience, and as helpful as we can be. I want to tell you, if you're feeling these symptoms, what are the symptoms, if you have them, that you should see a doctor or perhaps see a person who specializes in Lyme disease? What are the symptoms?
Okay. And that's as seemingly benign question as that is.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult answer.
I know.
Because Lyme disease is
Symptomatic.
Yes, it has many symptoms, and it affects multiple systems of the body.
Right.
Just like the syphilis spirochete.
So, outside of having everybody run to the doctor, for everything, are there any? Because we don't have a medical system in this country that has given us enough information on Lyme disease so that they can say, hey, that's something you really ought to go see a doctor about and say, I think I might have been bitten by a tick, or I might have been exposed to a tick. Are there certain symptoms that are classic that people should see their doctor about? Okay.
And let me give you an example. Last night, I'm at the Silver Docks Film Festival. And it was an after party. A friend of a friend was talking and telling me about how she's been experiencing pain in her knees.
Okay.
And joint pain, specifically in her hands and her knees.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
She's been saying that she's had crushing fatigue, and didn't know what it was. And I said, okay.
Right.
Through the course of the conversation, she also said that her mother has been diagnosed for fibromyalgia and is having real memory issues.
Okay.
And
it's another symptom of Lyme. Lyme disease can cause cognitive issues that you can have problems with that.
Right. And that her son has autism. Now, most people would listen to this and not put the dots together.
Mm-hmm.
But after 4 years of research into this and talking to hundreds and hundreds of
I was going to ask you how long
and doctors.
This was a 4-year project, and it shows in the documentary. I imagine very difficult to do. You follow these people for such a long period of time, but after 4 years, all of these things could possibly be related, right?
Yes, and so I listen to that story and I say, okay, that sounds like it could be Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to scare her. She got scared, but basically, I think people need to be scared, and they need to demand the help. This isn't going to come from the top down. It's going to come from the bottom up. It's going to come from people who are sick demanding that they get proper treatment.
Are you going to talk about your situation, Beth Ann?
Because
Beth Ann, this is really. I was just going to, because I didn't know whether you were comfortable talking about it or not. But this gets into insurance companies, and because we're talking about something that can be a chronic condition, and not all doctors agree that this is chronic, you can run into the roadblocks of managed health care, which so many people have run into that roadblock anyway. It's difficult.
Yeah, let me just back up for 1 second, because I threw out a word that was pretty loaded, and I want to make sure that people get it, and that was autism.
Yeah,
and I'm linking the mother and the daughter and the child.
Right.
There is evidence that this disease it could be sexually transmitted and can be transmitted in utero from mother to child.
Wow. Didn't the movie? I'm just going to ask you about it. Didn't your film categorically confirm that? I mean, if this woman that had the baby said she had Lyme disease, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and the child that she's given birth to has Lyme disease, he's tested positive. That's a question.
But we also have a Yale physician who says that's not possible.
That's not possible. You got these doctors saying there is no way to transmit the disease in utero. There also is no such thing as chronic Lyme disease that stays in your system and will be dormant and then cured and then come back again. And then you have other physicians that are saying that's preposterous. Yes. And at the end, one of your doctors who works out of his basement comes out with this connection that, it can be a chronic disease.
Right.
Well, where are you on this? Because I tell you, I'm getting frustrated because I watched all these people that were seriously not cured, but their health was dramatically improved by getting the treatment from the people that said they had chronic Lyme disease. Mm-hmm. And, where do you line up on this? I mean, I didn't consider the documentary to be completely objective. You have both sides represented, but you definitely make a case for the fact that there is such a thing as chronic Lyme disease.